They went into labor, but they never came home. No missing person report, no grave, just one phrase repeated by nurses and janitors. She was transferred, but no one knows where. You've heard about stolen babies, forced adoptions, hidden maternity homes. But what about the mothers who disappeared? What if I told you that in the last 100 years, across religious institutions, mental asylums, private care homes, and even government-funded facilities, dozens, possibly hundreds of young women gave birth and were never seen again? Not missing in the woods, not murdered and buried, but simply absorbed, disappeared in paperwork, erased by silence. This is not a conspiracy theory. These are real stories, and over the next few minutes, you'll hear 5 of them. 5 girls who gave life and vanished immediately after. Michigan, 1953. Eloise was 16 when she arrived, pregnant, barefoot, no family listed, no last name. Nurses remembered her eyes, vacant, like she wasn't fully here. She was admitted to the maternity wing of Eloise Hospital. At the time, it served both psychiatric patients and young, unfit mothers. Staff assumed she came from a Catholic-run orphanage. No one asked why she was alone. She gave birth on a Thursday night. A healthy boy, no complications. The next morning, the baby was gone. No discharge papers, no transfer, no adoption file. And Eloise? Her bed was empty. Her file was missing. The night shift nurse asked. The head matron said she wasn't ours to keep. That room was sealed shut months later. Patients had complained of crying sounds at night, but no one was inside. In 1997, workers renovating the hospital found an ID tag behind a radiator. It read, Baby 713, Ward C. Dublin, 1972. Angela was 17. She was sent to St. Bridget's, a Catholic institution for fallen girls. Her crime? Pregnancy out of wedlock, the result of being raped by her employer. Her family sent her away. No questions, no future. She was due in March. On March 25th, she went into early labor. At 2:13 a.m., she was removed from her dorm, logged as transferred to Maternity Unit B. There is no Maternity Unit B. No one saw her again. Years later, a retired midwife confessed. Unit B wasn't a ward. It was a storage wing, sealed after an electrical fire in the 1960s. They never reopened it, she said. But I saw girls go in, pregnant, bleeding, crying. None came back. Angela's family was told she ran away, but her belongings were still there, folded, undisturbed. New York, 1968, Willowbrook State School, infamous for how it treated disabled children. But it also housed teenage girls. One of them was called Patient 00427, estimated age 15 to 17, diagnosis mild intellectual delay, pregnant, 6 months, no name, no visitors, no history. She was placed in a locked room. Reports mention repetitive screaming at night. She was sedated. On November 4th, the ward log read, 00427 moved to Quarantine Bay for birth. There was no Quarantine Bay. She was never seen again. Later, a janitor found 2 hospital bracelets inside a broken pipe. One read 00427, the other, Infant A, 3:12 a.m. During demolition years later, workers found something else. A hidden door behind an isolation cell. Inside, a rusted steel gurney, chains, and a carved message in the wall. I am not crazy. I gave birth. 3 girls, 3 institutions, 3 exits that never happened. None were listed as deceased. None are listed as living. They occupy a space few dare to document. The missing mothers, but they are not alone. Next, a private home for unwed mothers that burned down, but whose records vanished the day before. And a girl who gave birth while shackled, who was never seen again. Texas, 1981, the haven home for unwed mothers. To outsiders, it was a Christian shelter, but inside, the girls slept in barred dorms with steel beds. Letters were censored. No phone calls, no visitors. Rebecca was 15. From a Baptist family in Amarillo, pregnant by her youth pastor. He denied it. Her parents gave her a one-way bus ticket and told her to stay until the shame was gone. Rebecca wrote diary notes on napkins. Another girl saved them. One read, "They pray before meals, but not before labor. They say God forgives, but no one looks you in the eye." On May 3rd, Rebecca went into labor. She was led downstairs. She never came back. 6 days later, a fire broke out. Only one room was damaged, the patient record office. Everything else was untouched. Investigators suspected arson. No charges were filed. In 2015, a whistleblower came forward. She said some girls were labeled non-viables and transferred off record. Rebecca's name doesn't appear in adoption logs. Her child isn't registered. And today, Rebecca Cooper doesn't exist. Mississippi, 1999. Alma wasn't sent away for being poor. She was sent away because she was pregnant and had no guardian. She had run away from a group home, stole food, was picked up by police, 6 months pregnant, labeled unfit for shelter, placed in juvenile detention. She labored on the floor of a locked cell. Eventually she was moved to the infirmary. She gave birth while shackled to a gurney. "She never cried," said a nurse. "She just looked at us, like she knew we wouldn't help." After delivery, the baby was taken. Alma was returned to her cell. The next morning her cot was empty. A log read, "Inmate 14-229 transferred to central intake." But no central intake ever received her. Years later, her wristband and jumpsuit were still in the system, still folded, still sealed. On the back of her file, someone had scribbled, "I named him Jonah. Tell him I held him." Belgium, 2006. Mila was 16. Her family belonged to a strict religious sect. When she became pregnant, she was taken to a retreat in the forest. No hospital, no doctor, no electricity. They called it a cleansing birth. Women tended her using candles and herbs. She wasn't allowed to speak. They believed sound would curse the child. She gave birth in silence. Then she disappeared. Her parents were told she died of complications. No body, no grave, just a sealed wooden box. They were told not to open it. Years later, another girl escaped the sect. She left behind a drawing, a girl with no mouth, holding a baby, standing in fire. Below it, she did not scream, she did not die, she became silence. So far, the pattern is clear. Disappearance, religious language, fires without smoke reports, transfers to buildings that don't exist, girls whose names vanish mid-document. Most never gave consent. Others were too young to know. But the worst part? Many of their children are alive today, somewhere. They don't know where they came from and may never know who gave birth to them, because in these stories it's not just the mothers who vanish, it's the very idea that they ever existed. Chicago, 1940s to 1960s. In 2003, a hospital clerk found an attic box, labeled Discarded Entry Logs. Inside, hundreds of intake sheets, teenage girls, pregnant, no last names, no discharge dates. They were never counted, never logged into the system. One note read, "Births processed, mothers sealed, names not required. Arizona, Montana, Idaho, late 1990s to early 2000s. Therapeutic boarding schools, correctional programs, unregulated, girls as young as 13, some pregnant, some became pregnant while inside. One girl gave birth in a storage closet. The baby vanished. She was told nothing happened. Her chart later read, subject reset, no memory retention. She was never told she was a mother. There is no database for mothers who go missing during childbirth, no federal record of unknown maternal identity adoptions, because to record them, you'd have to admit they were there. And who wants to count girls that weren't supposed to be real? But one girl was found. New Jersey, 2021. A social worker named Rachel reopened a cold case. A girl named Anna, 15, unwed, discharged, unknown, no adoption record, no death certificate. But a DNA sample matched a woman alive today. Lena, abandoned at birth. She never knew where she came from. But she came from someone who still hasn't been found. So what do we do with stories like these? They're not myths, not horror stories, not legends. They are silence, institutionalized, branded as shame, sealed in basements, set on fire. Each girl went into labor expecting pain. None expected to vanish. And yet, so many did. They gave birth and disappeared. Not because of magic, but because someone made it policy, and the rest of the world never asked where they went.